Hey, welcome everybody to Teamfight Talkshow. We've got a great week of TFT, at least to talk about, and some awesome people here to talk about it with. Frodan is here as always. Our guest today, Saintvicious. How's it going, man? Saintvicious over there. You know, we were just talking about this years ago. We did a podcast that nobody knows ever existed for Vulcan, a site that was shut down by the U.S. government. It was a great run. And it's great to be back on a podcast with you again. How's it going?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was just saying, like, I actually barely remember. I remember we talked about League. That's all I remember. I don't remember any specific conversations whatsoever.
Me neither.
I just blacked it all out of my life. I don't remember.
It happened. Maybe there's VODs out there somewhere. I have no idea. Frodan, the veteran of many podcasts. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I think like a lot of other players, I'm kind of struggling a little bit on the patch currently for 2022. Like there's some days I feel like, oh, I really get this. And then there's other days I'm just like, I can't win. I can't top 4 at all. And so I'm really interested to talk about some of the topics that we have today, because this might be another pretty polarized patch. Some people either love it or some people hate it. So, and I think Saint's a perfect man to talk about it, because he's such a different perspective on the game than I think a lot of other top players who tend to echo each other's sentiment very often.
So let's get to know you a bit better, Saint. Like, obviously a lot of people watch your stream. You're well known from many years of League of Legends. But what brought you to TFT? Like, how'd you end up here?
I mean, I just got done coaching, and then I was playing auto chess a lot, streaming that. Like when people are like hyping that up, and then I just ended up playing TFT when it came out, and obviously it's just like a way better game than auto chess and way more polished. So I don't know. I've always liked strategy games, like card games, and to be honest, I'm getting a little older. I don't know if you can tell, but we all get a little older.
Old. Yeah.
So I can't. I mean, playing shooters and League of Legends and stuff like that, it's a little harder to keep up nowadays. So TFT is kind of a game where you can just chill out and the boomer brain can work. You know.
Wait. So how old are you? Can I ask that? Is that okay?
How old do you think I am?
I'm gonna guess you are. Can I give you a range, or do I have to pick an exact year?
Give me the exact.
I'm gonna guess 29.
29? Thank you. I'm 33, man.
Oh, really? Okay. I was gonna give the range 29 through 31. So I was close. Well, I wasn't close.
You see, if you don't go outside in the sun, then your skin still looks like.
That's
just don't go in the sun. That's my beauty tip.
Don't go outside ever.
Get the gamer skin.
That's sage advice.
COVID-free and never age.
Yeah.
Get everything delivered. Hit masters, hit challengers, and TFT. The dream, right?
Oh, if only.
I think so. Anyway, so you're playing TFT. It was one of those things where I'm guessing it was kind of like, we're not going to mute you completely, but we do have to make adjustments.
We're slowly lowering.
So, no, you're
no.
I don't know.
The producer was
our producer thought you were too loud. I have no comments on that matter at all. But anyway, so was it kind of the same thing for you as it was for me, where you were playing like auto chess and like Underlords, and you're like, oh wait, it's this kind of game, but it's with all the characters I know from League of Legends. That's why I swapped over, and then I was like, oh well, this is just a better game at this point. Is that kind of the thought process you went to?
I mean, the auto chess was just some. It was. I mean, it's a mod, just the kind of same way as TFT is, but I feel like TFT actually has like a team of people working on it, and auto chess. It was literally just like two guys in a garage in China or some shit. I'm pretty sure what they said, and then they just ended up like selling. I think they got picked up by some other game studio and just stopped caring about the game altogether. So I don't know, or like they went up to like the cell phone market, do the cash grab. So I feel like at least for TFT, they have a lot of. I mean, I like Mortdog a lot. I think like the team that works on it is really interesting, and like they're very transparent. So I think it's like a good community overall.
Yeah, me too.
So you've been playing it for a while, and I wasn't sure like which streamers who enjoy playing TFT on the side, right? There's a lot of people who like to play a bunch of different games. Every now and then they come back to TFT, especially League streamers, right? You see like a bunch of League streamers love to dip into TFT every now and then. What makes you like want to keep playing it compared to some of the other people who are equally well known from the League of Legends community?
What do I keep playing it? I don't know. I mean, I think it's just a good game to. I mean, I like being competitive or whatever, and I haven't really found a game that reaches like my need to like fulfills that competitive desire. Outside of like League, and I queue up for a game of solo queue in League, and I have like some guy telling me to kill myself or something. I don't have that in like TFT. Like I can just chill. I can just chill and like do my thing and like play and like shoot the shit with my chat and like stream, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's just like way less stressful, I feel,
That's true.
Yeah, I hear you. Definitely. Well, you ready to talk about news? Ready to talk about TFT news and happenings around the scene? Because there's a tweet we're going to look at, first of all, that is from Mort himself. And so we're going to talk about the little Morg, I don't know what you want to call it, snafu, accidental buff that shipped. And it didn't last very long. They did revert it pretty quickly. But what do you think about this type of situation, Saint? Is it something that should be corrected right away? Do you like the sort of like kind of wait and see how it plays out? What's your kind of take on that situation? She was strong. It was PBE Morg again for a moment there.
I mean, from like an honest standpoint, I think that you could think back to like the Warwick patch when stuff was like super broken for like a whole week. I personally feel like that patch and letting it sit for so long. I don't want to say. I think it killed the game is like a maybe too exaggerated, but I'd say there's like your general like your average population gamers were like playing TFT a lot. From people coming over from other games, like even other streamers, I saw like playing this game a lot. And then the Warwick patch happened, right? And it just sat in like that terrible, like unplayable meta for like a whole week, 2 weeks, or whatever, how long. And I think the same thing was almost the exact same thing was happening with Ari. So you had like a whole patch like that, and then you were going to get another patch like that with Morgana, where there's like only one playable comp. I think that just that back-to-back succession of those 3 patches and letting it sit like that left like a really bad taste in people's mouths. So I mean, I'm happy that they hotfixed it, but I'm like really disappointed that it went on for 3 patches with like multiple different builds. So I think like this current patch is really good though. I think it's like a really great. I personally like it a lot. I think obviously there's things that could be worked on, but it's just a shame that like that. I feel like they hurt their game a lot by doing that, like leaving the game in a bad state.
Newsflash: we have a report from Twitch chat from Mortdog himself that apparently player hours went up during Warwick week by 1%, like 1%. You know. So, clearly
recount that Mortdog within 1%.
That's right. It's too close to call, but we're going to have it leaning player hours up is how we're going to call that one for now. We're going to get more results tomorrow by noon, I'm told. But yeah,
maybe on like thousands of computers.
Really interesting fact.
Yeah, maybe it kind of turned into almost like a sideshow event, right? Where it's like, come see the amazing, ultra powerful Warwick. Try him yourself in your games. And so it's kind of like people wanted to try it because it was kind of crazy seeing like Warwick just turn into this like lawnmower and just like eat teams, So not that I'm endorsing this, but it did create kind of a fun situation for a short time. Maybe went on a little bit too long, but it was interesting.
Yeah, it was just the optics on it really. Like data wise, it just looked really bad on all the public available data sites out there, like Meta TFT or like LulChess stuff. Like any kind of trends would just show you like here are all the viable comps. It was like 4 divine, 6 divine, 2 divine, like 4 enlightened. It was just like all kind of variations of the same thing. And so that was really concerning. And then what actually started putting it over the top, like in my book, where I'm like, okay, I think we need to maybe address this, was that like a bunch of people who like streaming the game casually, like Choco Bars and Fusli and Shifter and like all these like really popular league personalities and like Sneaky, we're like talking about how much they don't like the Warwick patch, but they love TFT. And I think that like kind of started a conversation about like, is this one of the patches that really damages TFT in the eyes of a lot of casual players? Competitively, if you ask the high elo community right now, they're like, a lot of them really think the Warwick patch is better than the Ari patch, which is better than like the Morgana patch. And I think like if you ask the general player base, like no one would really tell you that. So I think it's really interesting, like that kind of divergence that exists with the popular opinion versus the high elo community as well.
Well, I think it's like a trickle down thing. So like that's like the main thing I was pointing at is that people outside the standard TFT streamer community found it, they didn't like the patch and obviously they're gonna state that they're not having fun with the game at all, and then that's gonna create sentiment where their viewers are gonna feel the same way, and then it's gonna be like a trickle down effect, and that's why I think it like hurts the player base. But yeah, and also like people are gonna bitch about everything, like in that Lobby 2 Discord or whatever. Like people bitch about the most random shit or whatever. So I don't know, like if you get to take that stuff with a grain of salt.
It is like to a certain extent you do kind of look at some of these streamer communities too, and if the one streamer says something, the entire like thousands of people start to agree, and it's kind of like, wake up, sheeple, play your own game. Don't just like take whatever the streamer says as like gospel truth. But it does have an effect. That is true. And I like Frodan's point that when some of the more casual players start to talk about it, then it's kind of having an effect, because there's things that do definitely just affect the very highest levels of play in an esport or in a game just in general. But when the casuals start to notice in their own games, that's when it does get a little bit dangerous. But either way, it was an interesting week. It's over now. Warwick is he's still around, but he's been tamed. The teeth have been pulled. I don't know. The claws have been clipped. Whatever you do to nerf Warwick, I guess. And we've moved on to a new meta, which in itself is causing a lot of controversy right now. This is I've recently started playing a lot more again. Finally, I've had time, and I've been struggling, but weirdly, I haven't been not enjoying struggling. I've been having like a lot of fun with this patch actually. But there's a lot of different takes on it. Some people are saying, "Oh, it's just about the 4-1 roll down." I think that definitely is a style of play. But you do have a lot of other people with a lot of different takes on it. So I want to get your sort of just like broad overview on the state of the game right now on like patch 10.22 Saint. Like, what do you think we're at with this?
I think it's like there's the level 7 roll down thing is obviously not that great for people who don't like fully understand it. I think the people who kind of complain about that are the people that they're like, all right, I'm going into level 7 with Ash items, and like I'm rolling down and I'm only playing Ash, and they have like that mindset.
Yeah, that's the wrong way.
Yeah, and then they like don't hit the Ash, and they're like, this game sucks. It's a stupid RNG game. And so that's like the kind of general view on that. But it's like once you actually like I've climbed like probably like 1,000 LP across like 2 accounts just on this patch alone. And I did that like once I came to the conclusion that just you slam flexible items, and when you go into that 7 roll down, I'm ready to play like 4 builds, and I'm just gonna play like literally whatever I hit. So it is RNG, but it's like I'm gonna hit something, right? And once you like adopt that mindset, then I think it just becomes like a lot more comfortable patch for people. And sorry, my dogs are working, but
no worries. They don't agree with you on the patch opinions apparently.
Yeah. So like, and there's a lot more decisions in the early game too. But I think my only issue is that a lot of the lines of play that are happening right now are like very standardized. And as people actually start to like pick up on some of the things I talked about, like slamming flexible items and then being ready to pivot into like one of those 4 builds on your 7 roll down, then the game will become boring. And obviously like they're patching and like changing a lot of that stuff. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and you've got players like saying the opposite of what a lot of people in the community are saying too, where I know we've got a tweet from Mismatch Socks loaded up somewhere. I'm kind of throwing things out of order a little bit for our producer here, so I apologize for that. But where Socks, is saying that set 4 has the highest skill expression by far, if I've got that quote correct. Yeah, there we go. And he's doing really well. He's near 2,000 LP right now. He might hit it tonight. I wouldn't be surprised. And he's playing very flexibly. So I think it is kind of like you're saying too, where, and I feel like I had this kind of like aha moment in my own play yesterday, where I finally felt like I got a good sense of like what items went well in what situations. And then when you do that 4-1 roll down, you're like looking at a bunch of different things. You're like, okay, I'm starting to hit this, so I can lean towards this. It's like, oh, now I found this. And so it's kind of fun actually to do that roll down and see where you end up, because you realize that you're not just looking for one thing, and if you don't hit it, you lose. You're like looking for a number of different things, and it's fun to kind of like figure out along the way which one you're more kind of favored to benefit from. So what do you think about this, Frodan? I'll get your opinion on this too. But like, do you feel that this set is or this patch rather is good or bad? Give me the black and white answer.
You dropped a lot, so there's a lot that like
I did. I know.
The first thing though is that this is supposed to be an introduction of our new segment for the show, which is called.
Oh, it was.
Agree?
Oh my gosh, I screwed it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I wanted to introduce a new segment to the show called Agree, because apparently that's just a question we ask all the time in the TFT community, and so it's gonna be like a hot take from most likely Twitter, although maybe we'll screenshot something in lobby too every now and then. And it is Sox saying that set 4 has the highest skill expression by far, which I think is the big controversial part. Which I kind of want. I guess I'll let Saint start in terms of the answer. Do you think set 4 has the highest skill expression by far?
I mean, With the chosen mechanic, I would say it depends on what patch you're talking about. Because some patches, I would say it's like the lowest skill expression. Like I think that opening patch, where it's like you could literally play Cultist and Dust, I think it was like one of the lowest skill expression like iterations the game has ever had. Just because it was literally just like I don't buy anything. But if I buy anything on my opening turns besides Cultist, I'm losing the game. That's like actually what it was. You couldn't even hold units on your bench or anything. It was actually a joke. So when people say for this whole set is the highest skill expression, I think that's like kind of embarrassing to say. But
now, do we want to look at this conceptually or as like a specific patch? Because if you look at the set for holistically, if you take the individual patches out of it and just say sort of like look at the pool of champions, the abilities, the chosen mechanic, yeah, we've had bad patches here and there, but overall,
I think you have to look at patch by patch, because in every set there's going to be patches that there's very diverse meta, and like there's a lot of things you can play, and there's different ways that you can win, and then sometimes you have patches where on each set where it's like you can only play one thing, you only play one way. There's always like a couple patches like that. So I think you just have to look at it like whatever patch you're playing.
Okay, what about the current patch? Because this is what Sox is basically commenting on, like the current state of the game, where it doesn't feel like you can roll before 4-1. It feels like people are really just looking for defining chosens and just slamming generic items and feel like they're playing that 4-1 lottery, as he says. Do you feel like his take is correct? Do you agree with Sox here?
I think in some ways it's a very high skill expression, like building the comp on the 4-1 roll down, knowing like what to look for. But the thing is there's not much decision. I feel like there's very little decision making with the items. Sorry, can you hear my girlfriend? Or she's like, sorry. Anyways, there's very little skill expression with like making the items. Like basically every item goes into every comp right now, so that skill expression is very low. So like your decision making from the carousel is like at an all-time low, and then I think like a lot of the builds are using just like 3 primary carries, like Ashe, Talon, Jhin/Riven, right? So it's like I think what the units you're looking for are like not that complex either. And then like the way you manage your econ doesn't seem that complex either. It's just really that moment of how fast and efficient you can do the 4-1 roll down that makes you feel like you're doing something that you're like, wow, like 5-head, So I can see how you can say that, but I feel like a lot of these things are going to become solved as like any patch does, and then I feel like that tune could change like really quick,
So what do you think is the difference between a top 10 player on the ladder and a top 100 player on the ladder then right now?
The top 10 player, I mean, just being flexible, like like that kind of thing I said, where I feel like a lot of people will go into the roll down on 4-1 and be like, all right, I have Ashe items, I'm playing Ashe, I can't play anything else. Or they won't play a build because they don't have like perfect items for it. You know what I mean? They'll be like, I don't have Bramble, like I can't play Riven. Like,
right.
Who cares? Like you hit Riven, like play Riven. Like if you hit the unit, play the unit, and then just make like the best you can out of it, and then you can change out later or something if you want. So it's just like,
go ahead.
I mean, it's just not using. Yeah, it's just not using what the game gave you, or like not understanding what like an actual power spike is, or like if you hit like Vanguard Aatrox and you're playing like a Talon comp, Vanguard Aatrox is good, and it'll get you to level 8. They don't understand like what's strong for like the moment. So just like figuring that stuff out.
So my final quick question on that then, unless Dan has more with that, is would you say this is a meta where champions and synergies are more important or where items are more important?
Oh, it's kind of like I said, where the items don't. I think Mortdog tweeted out some graph or whatever where it was like the disparity in items and what they like win or top 4 or something. And on this patch, the disparity is at the lowest it's ever been. Like they're like kind of synced up together compared to other patches. So I don't think items really matter at all. I think like this is the least item dependent patch that the game has ever had. And I think it's just I think the game right now, the highest skill expression is all about like your early game, getting the most out of it, like staying as healthy as possible and like having as much gold as you can, just to make your level 7s like more efficient. So
All right.
Interesting.
Cool.
So you're saying that items are like in a way too balanced, like as if they don't really make meaningful decisions based off of what itemization you choose?
Yeah, like let's say I slam a chalice, I can use that in any build. Like Zeke's, I can use that in any build.
Is that a bad thing?
Pocket or whatever.
I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's like I don't feel like I'm making a weighted choice when I put items.
Okay.
That makes sense. I don't feel like in other things where it's
Yeah.
like, damn, do I save this for the perfect item later to get it for my carry, or do I like use it now to like preserve health? Like I felt like those decisions were really critical before in previous iterations of the game, and now it's just like I have 2 items, put them together and slam them. Like who gives a fuck? Like no, I'm like not using any mental processing power whatsoever to do that.
So it's more like it's not that necessarily like items are too balanced, but they're just like too
They're generic.
like, applicable. Yeah, too generic. They apply to too many different comps. You want them to be a little bit more narrow and perhaps have that same kind of balance, right?
Yeah, or it might just be because of the comps that are popular in the meta right now. Like there could be a lot of different things with it, but
I think this is actually one of the, maybe this is a unpopular opinion, but I actually like metas where the items are less important and you can use more items and more different comps, because then I don't feel like I'm a slave to the carousel and I'm like, oh well, I guess I just didn't get a glove this game, so I can't make this crucial item that my comp just doesn't work without. Bummer. This is the comp like I found and went with, and I only needed one of these and I just never found it. So GG. So I kind of like it when the items aren't as important. I feel like it lets me be more flexible.
yeah, let's be more flexible in the overall amount of builds you can play. But let's say you're in the mid game, right? Stage 3. Before I'd be like, all right, I have these items. These are probably the 2 or 3 comps I can play from here, and then it gets narrowed down as like, let's say you didn't get the carousel item you wanted. It's like, all right, now I can only play these 2 builds, and like that's where the skill expression came up before. But now it's just like I can just play all the fucking builds. I don't care. Like I can play any build I want with any item. So it's just I don't know.
And you don't think that's a good thing, or you're just saying you don't personally like it?
Well, this originally came out the topic of their skill expression at all time high, right?
That is true. Yep.
I'm just like I'm being the devil's advocate here in the sense of
no, this is good. Yeah,
it's a really interesting observation because I think like item balance, I viewed it as a good thing, but like I haven't really seen it be challenged in the way that you're presenting it, which I think is pretty fascinating.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. That's the point of this show, is to have these conversations. So that's great.
Yeah, I have to think about that more because I have to flesh it out before I can counterpoint it. But I'll definitely think about it.
Hit him up on Twitter later.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on from this patch to another patch that's coming in the future. We have some information about the what is it going to be, like 10.24 or something like that, a couple patches down there, where there's going to be some pretty big system changes going into when you find what level of chosen in terms of likelihood, what the percentages are going to be as far as when you find, different cost units, and then damage as well, which damage specifically is something a lot of people have been looking for. But let's take it like step by step and let's just kind of go down the line. And so first we'll talk about the change to the percentages of when you find certain chosens at which level. And overall, it kind of has trended down, it seems like, where you're going to have a much less likely chance, for instance, of finding a 4-cost chosen at level 7. It's dropped. Let me see. I've got to open another window. It dropped a ton from 30% down to 5. That's a huge change. Meanwhile, 3 costs went from 40% up to 60%. So Saint, like these kind of changes, changing up the way that you find chosens in your games. What do you think the effect is going to be?
I mean, I think that chosen change as well as like the player damage mechanics change.
Yeah, you can talk about the other stuff too.
Yeah. I think just that's gonna create a situation where I think what they're trying to push for is that they want people to roll in stage 3, or they just want people to roll before level 7. I think that's like what they're pushing for, because they want to bring it back to a time where there's not only one way to play the game, right? Right now, there's only one econ way. Like I'm gonna chill and do whatever I can to make gold, and then I'm gonna spend all my money on level 7. That's like the only way you can play the game, right? So they want. I don't know if you remember, like in set 2 when like shadows are popular, people would roll down on like 3. Yeah, they were like all in on
the last
3-2.
Kindred meta, sure, yeah.
Yeah, the last Kindred meta. And they don't like all in on 3-2 and to get like all their shadow units upgraded because they're 3 costs. And then the 3 costs would just carry them until like late game, right? Right now it feels like the window that 3 costs are viable is so short. Like let's say I have a Kali carry or Kindred or any of those. A lot of those units start falling off on like stage 5 or even sometimes stage 4 because people just hit like an Ash 2 or a Talon 2 like so fast that carry you itemized for is just like nullified, right?
Sure.
So it creates no value in like wanting to look for those units to even like preserve health or put pressure on the lobby. Because right now I could be like 30 health going into 4-1, and I could just get my entire build online because it's so easy to 2-star your carry, right? If you get a good chosen. So I think it's just creating another way to play the game is their goal. I don't know if like these changes will have like the full impact that they want, but I definitely think that it'll make like the early stages of the game like more. You have to put more thought into it.
I think that's what people were kind of asking for too. You had a couple different players. I know Aegon released a write-up, if I'm recalling correctly, about player damage and how he and other players wanted the early and mid game to be more meaningful and more impactful. So it seems like that's what we're getting. I want to get your take on this too, Frodan, because I kind of view this as sort of like a mixed bag because like I do agree that maybe the early and mid game aren't as impactful as it should be. Like I kind of do agree that you can just kind of cruise through it in a lot of games. But at the same time, I really love playing late game TFT with like the 5 costs and the 4 costs and like really powerful boards, some of the synergies and some of the comps that get unlocked like when you go super late. And so not getting to theoretically do that as much is kind of a bummer to me. So I don't know how I feel about all this. I agree with it, but at the same time, I kind of feel like something I enjoy might go away a little bit too. What do you think?
So I think TFT has like really big problems to solve from like a game design perspective, and I'm sure Mort will definitely be the first person to tell you some of these challenges that they
It's
have
complex.
to really address. It's one of the most complex interlinked games because it's drafting from the same pool in the center of a center core piece of how you end up interacting with the game with champions pulling from each other. So like percentages, fluctuating changes, it's not something that like I think we can debate. Like, is it 1%? Is 1% like not good to hit legendaries at 7? Is it like should the 2 costs or 1 cost be lower so people can't hyper roll and get 3 stars? Like we can debate about that till we're blue in the face. But one of the most important things that need to exist in a game like TFT is multiple ways and play styles for you to approach in terms of leveling and rolling. Right now, like rolling before stage 4 seems like a huge mistake. Like we've seen some people do it very desperately if they need to stabilize a little bit. But like if you roll more than like 10 gold at like stage 3, it's most likely at stage 3 too. You pretty much are guaranteeing that you're like going to lose a 2 or 3 average placings. And that's not fun because like the idea of TFT is you're supposed to be adaptable. And it's the best part about TFT whenever someone's asking me on how to improve is that I always tell them that the most common answer to any question in TFT is it depends. And right now in TFT, there's only one real defined playstyle that you should be playing, and that makes the game incredibly stale because then it really all the tension of the game is lost. Every point of the game, ideally, in the utopia of TFT, you should be challenged with: should I be rolling? Should I be repositioning? Should I be leveling? Should I be scouting? And these the kind of dynamic needs to be constantly weighed. And right now, almost all of those things don't really matter until stage 4. In terms of what you're trying to accomplish from a macro perspective, I'm sure you could debate situational stuff all the time with like Sox and Bebe and all these other players.
No,
But
I
we need
do
to
know
create
that.
more ways
Oh, good.
to play the game. And that's what I think this system design is trying to do. It's a very radical approach, which I think we should tip our cap to more for being willing to do that. I know so many game designers that will not try this at all. They say, you know what, next set, we'll try it. Because they don't want to mess with success, right? TFT is super popular, played by, I think, tens of millions of people around the world. There's a report that said that TFT is one of the most high impact PC games globally. So like they have a lot to lose by making a big risk like this.
You want to hear something crazy about let me tell you this really quick as far as like popularity of TFT. So right now in internet cafes in Korea, TFT is like 15%, I think it is, which is the second most popular game in internet cafes behind League of Legends, which is like 45%. So right now the League client is 55% of games being played in PC bongs and internet cafes in Korea, according to someone one of my contacts in South Korea that I talked to a couple days ago. So yeah, TFT is insanely popular. And we haven't even mentioned China. Like, it's ultra popular over there too. But
the thing is, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say this.
No,
if you see these PvE changes, it's really important that we get it right too. Because I think if we do a big change and it ends up becoming another Warwick or Ari kind of or Morgana patch situation where people feel like it's really bad, it's gonna once again set back like the opinion of how the set is developing. Because everyone was so hyper set 4 and started off so well outside of the cultist patch that Saint mentioned. So play PvE and send that feedback to Mort because he's been asking for it. Working so hard. All right. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No problem. My biggest concern with this is that it's another another invisible change, right? Where it's like it's something that you won't notice from just looking at the game. If you're a casual player per se, you might think to yourself, "Wow, I'm starting to like die a lot more early game. Like what's going on?" And maybe you notice the percentages in the lower left are a little bit different. But unless you really follow the scene, it's kind of hard to know these changes are happening. So one thing I'd kind of like to see in the future is if there is like a systems change to this, or really maybe even a patch in general, for there to be some, and if there is, and I've somehow missed it, apologies, but like for there to be some sort of little pop-up when you log into TFT after a patch change that says, hey, here's some patch notes, things have changed, check it out. Or maybe just like a little brief rundown of buffs and nerfs and changes, just so, casual players have an idea that this stuff is happening too. Because I think a lot of times some of the frustration comes in when you are a casual player and you just don't know that this stuff is happening. So ideally that'd be something I'd love to see, like just pop up on my screen in the future, help people get into a bit more. But I will say I know that Saint has the ability to play very flexibly, and he's not beholden to the 4-1 roll down, because I saw his Shroud Vayne 3 game yesterday. It was either yesterday or this morning. Yeah. Shroud on a Vayne 3, and he took third. Beat players like Soju, did great. Yep. What was it like playing that game? Because you were like 30 HP before 4-1. You came back.
YOLO.
So I know you've got more in you than just that 4-1 roll down.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like you can play. I actually do feel like you can play anything on this patch. Like I know people are all like jacked up on art, on Ash and Talon, all that stuff, but I feel like you actually can play anything. Like, you can play like Ari still. Like you can play reroll comps. Like you actually can play anything. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean cultists are actually pretty solid to like get you to fast 8. It's like one of the only comps I think you can fast 8 on right now. So it's a pretty interesting like dynamic in terms of the comps. I think you're right. Like
you can top 4 with really a lot of stuff. Yeah. And I think to me, like that's always been one of the most important things, is that like I don't necessarily need every comp to be able to win a game, but it's good if there's a lot of comps that can top 4, right? Because then you're still moving up in LP, you're still feeling like you're winning, quote unquote, but you can kind of play your way, and I feel like right now we do have a good amount of comps that can at least top 4.
Great.
I wanted to ask Saint, do you agree with Aegon, who's like kind of pushing for more aggressive early game damage towards players, so that it makes people kind of feel like they have to like roll more or like make those decisions earlier?
I think it's funny that he's the one pushing that, because he's notorious for his playstyle being like just completely open forward and like go AFK. So I mean, maybe that's why like maybe he would be the guy that knows better, because he feels like the early game is worthless. So he
could be. I feel like he's kind of one of those like child actors that's known for being like very wholesome in their youth, and then they like hit adulthood and they're like, no, I'm a bad boy now. I'm gonna show you like a new character. I'm not that anymore. I'm like cool, different Aegon now. So this is all, I think, kind of him dealing with that early reputation that you mentioned of just being like an AFK open forwarder for like the first year of his like TFT competitive experience. He was very good at it, but I feel like he's trying to push back still. He's like, no, we need more damage in the early game. I don't play like that anymore. I think that's it. It's okay, Aegon. I think you're a great player no matter how you decide to play. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it, man. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just funny that he's the person doing that. But I don't know. More early game damage would probably be okay, but I don't really think it's going to be like I think if they change it to be that play style, I don't think that people are like, wow, this is the change the game needed. This is so much more fun. I feel like people have fun when like they get like this crazy build online. They're like, look, we got 14 Elderwoods and Elderwood this and that. And like, people want to get crazy builds, right? That's what your average person wants. They don't want to be like,
they want Mortdog carousels all the time, man. That's what they want.
Yeah, they want to be able to play cool stuff. We got to move on though. We could literally talk for 2 hours about this. We got to move on real quick before we move into the esports section. Let's talk real quick about the spectator mode. A little poll put out on Twitter by Mort himself again, and the answer to what would people use the spectator mode for? Why would you want it? And the vast majority said, watch my friends play, which makes the most sense. I think we all do a lot of Discord groups where we're all watching each other play and giving feedback and things like that. So that makes sense. I obviously and you know, maybe other people in the more esports oriented community would be like, nah, we need spectator mode for the tournaments. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it does seem like this would be the most useful function that the spectator mode would give us.
I'd say from a streamer perspective, like I would like to have like held you know, like a personal TFT tournament with like viewers or something, or like run through Team Liquid. And it's like it's really hard to do that in like in an effective way. I mean, you guys, there are people like that run TFT tournaments, but without like a good spectator mode, you just can't do it, right? Or even from like if you're
it's hard. It's definitely hard.
Yeah, you can't do it. So
hey, we've been doing it all year, man. It's doable. It's just not easy at all.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do like this big workaround and all this stuff. So I think for me, like that would be kind of helpful, but I don't know. I don't think like your average, because all my friends, like they go into like Discord and they screen share and they like backseat the shit out of each other, all that kind of stuff. So I think people are already doing that. Obviously, if they could do that through like the League client, it would probably be just easier. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
I just want
quick thoughts on that, Frodan, before we move on to tournaments.
I just want spectator mode, please.
All right. Well, there you go. There you have it from the man himself. Let's move on. Hey, this is huge. The company that makes GiantSlayer, Wisdom, great esports company in the frigid north of Minnesota, has gotten a partnership with Riot Games now. This is huge to make Teamfight Tactics events. So you wanted TFT Esports, here you go. This is it for set 4, and it's exciting. There's a lot of different stuff. There's going to be weekly events with GiantSlayer. In fact, the first one is next week, I believe. Yeah, on the 9th, actually, coming up fast. That will end up being part of the qualification into these other qualifier tournaments, which will then qualify you for the big stuff a little bit later. So extremely exciting.
Yes. They seem to be doing something similar, which is they're having Team Liquid host like an open qualifier portion, which people can compete on. There's the leaderboard, which Saint finished top 10 on, so congrats there. That they're going to be doing weekly, which is really fun and also a good content if spectator mode existed. Because then you can just have a stream like GiantSlayer, just spectate like people's games as their ladder snapshot is finishing. Like that kind of stuff is really fun. I'm just happy that we have competitive details announced.
Yeah.
Does anyone else?
Yeah.
Like, I just wasn't sure if it was going to be announced until like, oh, we're going to do the championship in 2 weeks and ladder matters yesterday. So let's just invite these top 10 players. I don't know.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of info on your screen for the Challenger Series, which again is going to be on the 9th. That's going to be GiantSlayer's own Casanova and Risa, who's in our chat. You're going to be casting that. Should be super awesome. But I'm excited about this too. It's going to be great to have weekly TFT Esports coming back again. And this is just kind of like the beginning, right? So Saint, like over the year, you've been getting like more and more into the esports side of TFT. You've made the transition from for fun player to hardcore serious competitive player. You're shaking your head, but I don't know if I can believe you, but I'll let you say your opinion anyway. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I've been in esports. I mean, we all have, right? Like I played Season 1 Worlds in Freak's basement. Like these
the days.
Yeah, but like these tournaments for TFT, for the amount of people that they say play the game, and for the amount of time that the game's been out now, like if we can get like that big of a tournament in Freak's Basement for season 1, and then you look at the transition from season 1 World Championship to season 2, right? And it's like, all right, we're in the Staples Center. Or someone's like, oh, like that's a big jump.
Well, you gotta be fair though. Like League was out for like 3 years before season 1 even happened, and so there is that.
I mean, there's like leagues and franchises and other esports and stuff like that are like way less popular and way less people playing them that come in with like way more backing from the developer and like
I'm familiar with those. Yeah,
third party. Yeah, I know. I know. There's a game called Overwatch that probably killed esports for a lot of other people like this. I'm just saying. Well, that's a whole other fucking tangent. But
yeah, that's another podcast.
Yeah, I feel like maybe like that kind of stuff like left a bad taste in developers' mouths about just jumping in and throwing a lot of money into leagues and all that and franchises. But I don't know. I feel like esports and TFT is a joke. I'm just gonna say that. So I mean, it's fun. It's good content. Like if I'm gonna play in the tournament, people want to see that. They want to see competition, right? But like, I don't feel like I'm playing for anything on the line outside of like entertainment purposes. It's like here you go. Here's $14 and a gift card to Applebee's, or like 10 eggs. So it's just like I was like, what am I even doing?
To me, you see it at as a veteran of many different esports, it reminds me of like a lot of other esports that have grown from a grassroots level, where it's just like this in pretty much every game. Like the games like Overwatch, where you have the league like coming out very quickly, that's the exception to the rule. I feel like most games that grow in popularity and kind of make it over time start like this, and so yeah, you're not going to be able to dive in and be like, you're not going to be able to dive in and be faker in TFT in year 1 or year 2, maybe even year 3. Like it takes time to ramp up. This is like, in my opinion, this is how esports should grow. It should be something that comes from the community where you have fans of a game that say, hey, we want to find out who the best players in the world are, rather than some dude from baseball in a suit saying, I wonder if this esports things can help me buy a new Ferrari. Let's get some of my other rich friends together and put some teams together. I like it this way. I like esports this way, So I'm fine with it being small for a little while. This is how you grow it,
I like grassroots, don't get me wrong. And so you say you want to see the best people in the world are, right? So if somebody's actually outside of a streamer right now, if somebody wants to be the quote unquote best in the world, it would be hard pressed to like find enough time to devote to the game to like truly be the best, right? So I feel like since there's not that incentive where they can actually be able to devote that level of time, you're not going to have the level of competition that you're looking for. That's what you're actually wanting out of it.
Do you think that's kind of putting the chicken before the egg a little bit though, where it's like you can't be a pro unless you can make enough money to be a pro all the time? But like, how is the game going to get to the point where people can do that if other people don't play it and like have full-time jobs at the same time first?
No, I mean, I understand that. I didn't get paid salary in League until like I'd been a pro for 2 years,
Yeah, like, I was flat broke for the first couple of years as a caster too. Like that's just how it starts.
Yeah, like literally the only money I made was from streaming. And I'm sure that's the case. That pretty much is the case for TFT right now. And that's why I understand the position, but I think that was a different time. And I think esports and the marketability of it and how like sponsors and things like that look at it from the outside is a lot different now. And I feel like there's people that will like, and if your game really is as popular, has this many eyes on it, and this many people playing, like Riot can make money off of it, off of a league. They really could. And I think that just like, yeah, I feel like that type of stuff is, I don't even feel like they make that much money off their game. Like, can you even spend money on the game right now? I can buy like
TFT. Yeah, you can buy like little legends and stages.
But and
other things, I don't know.
You can spend like $50 tops and get all the stuff you want, right? And then you're like good. You're good for the next set, right? So it's like I feel like even the amount of money that Riot could make off the game itself is like not there either. I feel like they're just dropping the ball on the revenue flow, and then it's just like slowing everything down altogether. I don't know.
See, I agree with you, and for the most part, but then again, I've been part of games that have done way worse in terms of monetizing their game and their esport. So
Agreed.
I feel like TFT is sort of in the middle, you know, where it could be better, but it could definitely be like a lot worse too. I want to see your opinion, Frodan, though, because like you've been part of many games as they've grown from a little baby esport to, you know, bigger successful esport. How do you feel about the trajectory of TFT? Like, should it be sped up? Should it be slowed down? Where are we at?
I just think that they need to communicate what they want TFT competitive to be. I think I think part of what makes it challenging is that this genre, and not even just auto battlers, but like battle royale in general, like any free for all based competition,
Mhm.
just has some real like hard questions that you have to answer. Like Fortnite kind of like just coasted on their popularity, and now that they're not like the game that people want to play and watch, they're still a very popular game, but like, you know, the tournament scene completely like died. Not really died, but like, you know,
They weren't like news for.
I mean,
though, were they?
let's be honest, it was never a good esport anyway. Yeah. I mean,
well,
well,
I mean,
put that
the
out there.
idea is that this is a struggle for like a lot of people, not even just TFT, but like Fortnite and Apex and like PUBG and anything else that's involved free for all based competitions. It's really, really hard to figure out like what they want it to be. Largely because of the randomness of just the fact that you can't always win every one of these games.
Agreed.
Nor are they designed to do that. So there's definitely some identity issues that need to figure out. Personally, for me, I just want them to like pick something and develop into it. If they want it to be like a streamer league, then say it, right? Like if they want to just invite streamers to compete in their showcases, then just like make that the goal. If they want it to be like an actual sweat competition where, you know, they have young 16-year-olds come up and show that they actually have like elite skills, then do that. I think they're kind of straddling the fence and kind of pissing off both sides right now. And I think that they need to make some kind of commitment instead of staying too open, if you will.
I can
See, this reminds me a lot. This reminds me a lot of Hearthstone back in the days, man, where like the game didn't know if it wanted to be super casual or super competitive. And I feel like I've seen this scenario before, you know? It takes time to work through that. But I think we got to move on. We got like 10 minutes left. So we got to do something everybody loves. We had more esports stuff to talk about, but I think we got to move on. I think we have to talk about a tier list. And so we're going to talk about what are your favorite swing states and why. No, I'm just kidding. We're actually going to talk about the top 10 NA players. Where do you fit in that list and why? So go ahead. Top 10 players NA, go for it.
Obviously, I'm number one. Duh.
All right.
All right. I like it.
Bold. Not many players we've had on the show have done that.
Really?
Not many.
That's a lack of confidence. They're not a true competitor. You see that? You got to really believe in yourself and have that confidence to be the trim killer.
Well, who's just below you then?
I'd say Socks, but I don't know about how he plays in tournaments. So I feel like he's kind of like he can be scuffed in tournaments. So but we'll just put Socks since he's going to the ladder, and then probably Soju and Kurum. I think Kurum's really good sometimes. Sometimes he ends, but no, when he's on, he's really
pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, when he's on, he's really good.
All right, good enough for fourth.
I think Milk is really good, but I don't think he gives a fuck right now. So I don't know.
He's in chat. You could ask him.
So Milk goes in at 5.
Yeah, just because he doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, Chris should be on there. No,
the thing is, Milk actually gives so many fucks that
I was gonna say
he goes full circle, and because he cares so much, he realizes that no one can match his level of how much he cares, so he has to revert to not caring.
Oh, I got you.
It's transcendent.
He's trying to break right. That's true. He's too emotionally involved. Now, do I even
he's
know
like
more players than that?
the competition.
Yeah, you can. It's your list. You can do anything you want.
Do I even know more players? I'm trying to like think of other players I know. Oh yeah, Kyun's pretty good.
Doko? Just throwing that out there.
Kyun's pretty good. Yeah, Kyun. He can go there.
All right, Kyun, number 6.
I honestly don't know any of the other players off the top of my head from NA that would stand out. To be honest.
Wow.
10 is a lot,
man.
10 is a lot.
This is the most fire list we've had in a while. Just like 6 players, and then it's like GV8. Okay, yeah.
I forgot him. Yeah, he's probably somewhere in the mix. I don't know. I feel like the overall like top 10 players are all like pretty close in NA. So I don't feel I'm like, wow, this guy is so much better than the other guy. Like all these people could easily be like number 2 or 3 or whatever, you know? Like, I don't think that like GDA being 7, Sox being 2 is like a big difference.
It's up to you to rank them.
Oh yeah,
So.
Scar. Yeah, can we put Scar at 8? Scar at 8.
I can read you some names if you want. Scar can go in at 8 if you want.
Yep. Scar at 8, and then Chris.
TSM Prodigy in chat
taking
wondering
all your
about his guys kiting.
And then Becca. There you go.
All right.
That's the list right there.
All right, that's it. Wow, that did not take long at all. Usually, there's a lot more thought that goes into it.
What? This is very thought out. Maybe Chris could be a little higher, but this looks perfect.
You don't want to move anybody around?
No, this looks great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds good. Well, let's move on to our mailbag then. So here's a question from Stratos. How come the competitive scene of TFT hasn't taken off? What will it take from Riot and or the community for the competitive TFT scene to be taken seriously? We talked about this a little bit already, but we can revisit this if you want. What do you think?
I'll just say, did you guys watch TFT Worlds?
Yeah, I casted
it. TFT World.
Oh, you cast it. Was it exciting for you guys? Be honest.
I like the. I mean, I had some issues with the format, both in the qualifiers and in the final event that kind of hurt my enjoyment of it a little bit, I would say. But it was still a ton of fun, and I like the concept of a player taking first to win it all, making that happen. I think there's a long way to go on format stuff with that, but I had a good time. I don't know. I don't think it was the best representation of TFT Esports at all, but I think it was fun.
Yeah, I feel like the format is just not correct. Like, let's say that 4v4 tournament, that was actually one of the most fun times I had, like, competing for TFT, right?
Yeah, that was a sick tournament.
I talked to Scar a lot about this. I feel like the best format for TFT competitive would be, like, some type of team-based, whether it be, like, 2v2v, 2v2, or, like, 4v4, or there has to be some way to create a team element, because right now it's difficult to create a storyline and follow that storyline for each player, like, within the game, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I feel like if you have a team aspect, then the storyline is kind of like the relationship with those players in a sense, and also on top of like their skill level in the game, and it creates like a better narrative and something that people can follow more. So I think that it's just impossible to build storylines or even care about any of the players in the thing right now, because you can't see all the perspectives of the players in the game. So you have to find another way to like catch people's interest.
It's another one of those spectator mode things too. I think it'd be a little bit easier if there was more ability to, control that via the casting side too, and kind of follow up on some of those storylines that get a little bit lost during games sometimes.
Yep. That's all I got to say on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on then. Go ahead, Frodan.
Just to follow up on that I think that, TFT also has an issue with like how many games should we be playing, because I agree with Saint. I think the format is they have to kind of do some really interesting maneuvering in order to make the finale exciting. Like you have to get first in order to like win the entire tournament, and that kind of creates this weird like dynamic where viewers aren't really sure what to watch for, but like it kind of creates this this element of artificial excitement and tension, I think, that TFT doesn't necessarily lend itself to, because we should be able to applaud people who are consistent, and yet you have this dynamic like, are they going to win or not? And so to increase sample size, team tournaments do that because you give them more inputs in order to do that. So I really like team aspects for the dynamic that Saint talked about. It simplifies what people are doing, and it kind of gives like, a lot of things for fans to latch onto through the narrative. And also it like kind of offsets some of that variance issue. So I really like team tournaments a lot.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more. It makes sense. Everybody's been loving them. The players love them. The fans love them. I've casted pretty much all of them. I think you've casted a lot of them too, Frodan, and it's been great. So
yep.
I'm sure we'll see more. Our next question comes from Legend. I was like, all right,
our episode basically.
Hey, it's fun to put E's in different places. Do you also think that there is an expression of skill when people take more damage? So I guess it's do you think it's a higher skill cap game if there's more damage coming out of losing a round? Is what I think we're getting from that question.
I think it creates more decisions on a certain line of play as far as like early and mid game, but it takes away the expression of skill as far as like maximizing, like getting the most out of your team comp at the end of the game, like
Sure.
And being as creative as possible. And that's like the kind of stuff we talked about where it's like, what am I going to do with this fawn and like this chosen and like these spats I have? Like, how crazy of a team comp can I possibly make? Right. That's a skill expression in its own, right?
Yeah.
And if you're the only way that you can play the game is I have to just play the strongest board possible or I just die. And that's like the only way I can play the game. Then that removes the element of skill expression, right? So you can't just think of the game like simplified. And if you're giving something in an area, you're taking something away as well. So you have to think of it in those regards.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, any comments on that, Frodan?
Nope. No, I think we covered it a pretty decent amount. And, maybe if we have Aegon on the show, he can like come and defend his position because there's a lot that he wrote that I don't agree with, but like the overall messaging, I can definitely like take and I really think that he actually has some good points as well. So
yeah, totally. No doubt a smart player. Let's move on to our next question from Lord Bait. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. It's B8, so it makes sense. How does it feel to be backseated while streaming? Do you turn that backseat gaming tag on when you go live? I do that because I'm just like, why not give in?
Oh, yeah, I don't like. I mean, backseating is really, really annoying in the sense of, not that they're like telling you what to do, but it's like, you could go into like Sox stream, right? Like rank 1, right? 2K LP, and somebody will be like, you should have done this. And it's like, are you serious? Like,
yeah.
How can you? It's like, do you have the audacity to say that? You know what I mean? So
you've been on the internet, right?
You gotta respect, man.
Yeah. Bold. It's like, is this guy for real? Like, it's not. That's like what gets me about backseating. It's like, is this guy serious? But I mean, I understand. Like, I remember I was like watching my friends like play fighting games, and I was like, I don't want to say I was backstating them, but I was like asking them questions like more aggressive with like, why did you do that? Or like, because I was trying to figure the game out, right? And it's very difficult to have the proper tone given like when you're talking, obviously in like a brief form on Twitch chat. So I think a lot of the time when people are backseating, it can be mistaken for backseating, but they're actually just trying to figure out like what the hell is going on, right? But of course there is like people that are like, you should have done this, like why didn't you do that, like that kind of thing. And I think it's just like difficult to, it's like a weird line to walk,
Yeah.
So
but I think you raised a really good point that like a lot of times people aren't trying to be rude or like backseat as much. They're just trying to like understand the game. But again, it's tough to convey that during chat sometimes, especially when you have people watching from all over the world. You don't know what their English level is. So there's that. You're a very nice person for bringing up that point. But I think you're right too, that like it's hard. You got to kind of like, you got to be patient with Twitch chat, What do you think, Frodan? How do you treat your Twitch chat when you stream? You don't really stream, but when you're casting and you're reading chat, which you should not do, but you do anyway.
When I streamed, my chat loved backseating me. It was actually like a big feature of my stream because I would like argue and like yell at the chat, and they would yell at me back. And it was just like this really dysfunctional, toxic relationship. But we like ultimately loved each other very deeply for a season, and now that season has passed. So
it was the honeymoon's over, huh?
I just had a lot of other projects, and streaming like maybe one day, I'll pick up streaming again, but like it was good, and go out while I felt good. I wasn't like on top, but I had pretty decent viewership, and I was happy with it.
When I stream TFT, I put the backseat gaming tag on my channel because I'm just like, all right, let's go, bring it on. But the nice thing is Twitch chat always sees stuff in my shop that I miss. So you talked about like old gamers getting older. I need Twitch chat. Otherwise, I'm going to miss like that, like Ari I need or something like that. So Twitch chat for my friends. Not when I'm casting, but when I'm playing. It's okay. Anyway, time to end the show. Saintvicious, any final thoughts before we close this out?
Nah, I'm good. Just watch my stream. See you guys there.
All right. Well, Frodan,
are you streaming after this, or are you done for today?
I'm going to sleep. I'm tired.
Dang.
Wow, you
7
are old,
p.m.
man.
7 p.m. Gotta get
I
up
take
early
my
for Denny's.
Metamucil and go to bed.
Get my Denny's discount, my senior citizen discount.
All right, just shout out to Giant Slayer. Definitely check out the Challenger Series that they announced. They're really trying hard to prop up the TFT competitive scene in North America, just frankly in the West. So, shout out to them and everything they do.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't forget, guys, November 9th. That is next Monday. We have the first Challenger season episode. Casanova and Risa will be casting that. It's going to be awesome. Going to get to see a lot of good players. It's the dawning of a new age, I would say, for TFT Esports. Not to get too auspicious about it, but we need this in set 4. So it's great that it's happening. Giant Slayer obviously putting in a ton of work to make TFT Esports a thing. So go watch. It's going to be awesome. Until then, from me, DoA, Frodan, and our guest, Saintvicious, thanks for watching Teamfight Talkshow, guys. You'll be able to find the VOD on YouTube later if you want to review and make sure you heard what we said. I don't know if you do, but watch it anyway. Either way, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching. Play some TFT. Get some relaxation. Go chill. Go do something fun. Turn off the internet after this. You don't need to watch anything more tonight. Go to bed like Saintvicious is, maybe. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.